Okay, to start drawing our floor plan for our restaurants, we're going to open up a blank Google drawing. And on that drawing, there's a couple of tools I'm going to show you to help you create both your floor plan and the icons and the key for your restaurant. First, down here in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a little handle that will allow you to adjust the canvas size of your drawing. So as you start drawing, if you need to expand it or contract it to make it fit, that handle is in the bottom right-hand corner. First, I'm going to go ahead and insert a simple text box. All right. And I'm going to insert that text box over here on the left side. Click and drag, and I'm going to use this as my key. As I start creating icons and different items within this drawing, I'm going to add those icons and descriptions here to the key. I'm going to go ahead and actually insert a square around that. And a lot of that is underneath shapes. And this is where most of our drawing is going to come from. Draw a square around that just to kind of give it sort of an area here. Now notice I drew that and it covered that up. And that brings us to our first tool here where we want to use our order. And when you draw items, wherever you draw it, it puts itself on top of everything else that you've drawn on the drawing so far. So you need to kind of shuffle it. Think of it sort of like a deck of cards. So right now that's on the front. I'm going to go ahead and send it either backwards by one level, or I can send it all the way to the back. Right now, since I only have two things, it doesn't really matter which one I do. And so I've got my key, and I want to make it so the inside of that key is actually transparent, but the outside of that key is black. I can actually change the thickness of that line as well. And all of those tools are useful as you're drawing these different items. The next thing I recommend is using your zoom tool here. And when you click on the zoom, you have either a zoom in or out option. I can also zoom in by just clicking. All right. And if I click and drag, it will zoom into that one location. I can also just say, you know what, I want you to fit everything within one page. So that zoom tool has a lot of different options that are really, really useful. I'm going to go ahead and draw a table and chair set icon, and I like to make them look kind of realistic. And the other place I can get to my shapes is by clicking the toolbar shortcut here. So I'm going to start off by using the rounded edges. I'm going to draw a square here to represent one of my tables. Now I can automatically see that is a little bit small, so I know I need to zoom in on it to work on it. So that's my initial size of my table. So I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to draw some chairs around it. So again, I'm going to go ahead and insert a shape. I'm going to use my square tool here. I'm going to draw the bottom of my square or my chair. And if you want it to be a perfect square, if you hold down the shift key, it kind of forces the perspective of it to be a perfect square. I'm actually going to make mine a rectangle. And I'm going to make the outside of it dark brown and the inside of it dark brown. And then I'm going to draw a second square or rectangle on the back to kind of represent the back of that chair. And it uses those same settings. And I actually want to go ahead and make sure that these are centered on each other. So I'm going to put kind of a thicker black background here. Maybe make it size 1. I like the way that looks rather than having that. All right, now, if I want these to be centered on each other, a couple of tools that happen. If I move this, you can see that little red line that appears that's telling me, hey, that is center aligned to each other. Another thing you could use, let's say these are very obviously crooked, right? So I'm going to hold down Shift and select both of those items. So I click on the first item, hold down Shift, click on the second item, and now they're both selected at the same time. And that brings me to what's called align. So we already did order, but align takes multiple items. So I've selected 2 items and I can align them either on their centers, left and rights, or on their top, middle, or bottom. And that all depends on whether you're trying to go up and down or left and right. So this, I want to go left and right. So I'm going to do center. And now they've centered themselves on each other. I'm actually going to go ahead and go to arrange, and I'm going to use this command called group, where now that I have a perfect chair, I'm going to group that together so this is one item and I can't accidentally pull that apart. All right, so I'm going to put that right there. I'm going to copy it with a Control C, Control V pastes it. So I'm going to put that over here, spin it around, and do the same thing. Copy, paste, put it over here on the right side. So this is going to be a table with 4 different chairs on it. All right, I want that to be at a 90 degree, so I can hold down my shift, and that helps that align. See my red alignment tool here is helping me center that on the table as well. And we'll do that one more time. Copy, paste, put it over here, spin it around. Notice it does give you all these different little tools. That red tells me it's centered. Those little blue sort of look like eyes or eye beams are telling me, hey, that's spaced the same as your other item. It's just that smart that it can tell that that's what it thinks you want to do. So this is going to be an icon for one set of tables, or one table with a set of 4 chairs. And I want them to all look that way. So I'm going to actually click and drag to select all of those items. All right. And again, kind of like what I did with the share, but I'm going to actually now group all of this. So it's one big icon. And now if I zoom out, there is my table and share set. And now I can duplicate that over and over and over. I'm actually going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste a row of these right here. And I'm going to purposely kind of put them a little bit crooked so that I can see. You know what? Let's say I want 4 of these, and I want them to look evenly spaced and lined up. Now I can highlight all of these. Now, if these were all independent, individual pieces, this would not work. But because I grouped them together, this is going to work. I'm going to highlight all of these, and effectively, I've only highlighted 4 things, right? Because these are grouped together. And I'm going to arrange, and I'm going to do something first called distribute. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the top one and the bottom one, if I'm going up and down, and space everything in between them evenly. So you have to watch close. Since I'm going up and down, I'm going to do vertically. And now they are spaced evenly. I also want to align them on their centers, so they're also centered. And now I have a perfect row, perfectly spaced together. Let me put that there. And in fact, now that I've got that, I'm going to go ahead and copy it, paste it. There's my next set right there. And I'm going to highlight all those, copy and paste them. There's my next set. There's my area for those, for that type of seating. Now, using that same technique, you can start building the rest of your restaurant, including bathrooms and kitchens and booths and fish tanks and maitre d' tables and whatever other items you want to put in there. Now, you could represent it with just a shape and just put a square there, and you'd have to put it over in the key. Or you could do a little bit more of a decorative design like this. All right. So now let's do one final step here. I'm going to go ahead and take one of these. I'm going to put it over here in my key, and I'm going to actually shrink it down to a really small size. And I'm going to add that to my key. So I'm going to put it right there, and I'm going to insert a text box. Click and drag right next to this. And that is a table and chairs. So I'm just going to call it a table. Next to it, I might need to use a much smaller font. Otherwise, that's going to be way too big for for everything in my key to fit. Maybe I want to align this so it's centered. Again, I see that little red alignment bar to say, hey, that's centered on the word table. Perfect. Now I have an icon for that. Continue building this, taking a look at some of the examples of ideas of what you could include, and have fun with this. We've got a couple of days to work on this.